Hey guys, this is What If Belle Cornell or Belle from, well, I can't remember Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? Well, has Spider-Man's powers, or was Spider-Man? What if Belle Cornell has Spider-Man's powers, or was Spider-Man? Now, basically guys, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and let's just dive right into this fanfic. We start our story off with us being introduced to this world's layout and how dungeons and dragons and all this stuff revolves and works. And we open our story off with Belle running around in the dungeon. As Belle's running around in the dungeon, running away from a Minotaur, as the Minotaur has cornered him. As we get seen that Belle in this world is a little bit more confident and going, as he tries to fight back against the Minotaur, but in little tiny scratches that have no real wealth strength behind them, to a point where he's basically like kid playing the Minotaur. As the Minotaur punches Belle incredibly hard, making him bust down on the wall, literally him being a sack of bones in the wall, not a sack of bones, but more or less laid out on the floor like a chump, like a huge like gut punch straight to the chin, and straight to the gut, as he gets saved last minute by the princess, the main character's I guess love interest or something like that, as he's saved and covered in blood afterwards, because she did cut up the Minotaur like a freaking sushi chef in front of him. So yeah, we can switch back to the main world as we get shown in this world monster men and half human humans, wizards, and other things such as that do exist in this world. As Belle's running back to the bank where main adventurers that go up into the dungeon and pretty much cash in their diamonds to get money. As he's covered in blood running through the town, as he eventually gets down to the bank, and he's literally covered in blood. So basically everybody look at him like he's crazy because he's covered in it. So the elf there, that's mainly like his, I guess, a secretary, not secretary, but more or less there for his friend, be his friend, as she talks to him and she tries to explain like what happened and all this other stuff, as he tells her that, well, he got saved. Now she does tell him that it was kind of dangerous for him to go down there that deep into the dungeon when he was not at the right experience levels. As he talks to her, and basically the majority of this whole first part of the episode series goes exactly the same. The whole day goes exactly the same, nothing really going out of the ordinary. As Belle gets back to his house, as he lives in type of abandoned type church, as his not mistress, but more or less his goddess that he worships or is in a clan with, basically comes rushing to him, seeing if he's okay or not, and pretty much patting him all over. And in this world, she's a little bit more freaky, so she tries to pat his dick, and he kind of backs up a little bit. But basically what would happen is Belle talks, and eventually she shows off that she got a job and she has some of her food because she had a bakery type stand job, as she's brought food for them as they eat for the night. As Belle and her eat, as eventually she kind of gets a little flirty with him, as we're showing the dynamic between two, as she really likes Belle, but Belle doesn't really see it. Now, me personally, I wanted them to be an end game, and I think they did become an end game at the end of the show. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I honestly really want them to get together, like later on in the show. I'm pretty sure the show finished or ended a few seasons ago. I don't really know for sure. But Belle's mistress, or not mistress, I'm probably gonna switch my favorite mistress or goddess, either way, as she checks his stats, as they're pretty normal. As I'm gonna skip over this part because nothing really changed, nothing in the story changed, nothing equivocal mattered or changed too much. As she does say her stats have improved, at that night Belle goes to sleep, as he wakes up with her basically whole body on top of him, as he's basically very shocked and also like super flustered. As he wakes up the next morning and he runs out of the place, as he is going through the abandoned church, as out of nowhere he tries to stop and pretty much part up his outfit, as it's a little bit dusty. As he walks, he's about to put his gloves on, as he gets bit on the hand by some sort of spider. As he looks towards the spider, as he's confused, as the door is open or slightly cracked, as he closes it as he leaves. As Belle walks off and he feels a little dizzy, he just keeps on going throughout the day. As he goes to a nearby diner, and basically talks to this girl. As this part of the story goes a little bit similar, but when he goes into the dungeon, Bell goes into the dungeon and tries to take down all these lower class, pretty much monster type beings or bugs, as he eventually comes across another bug monster, as not bug monster, but wolf monster. As he's cornered by these wolf monsters, as out of nowhere, Bell starts to freak out and he passes out last minute. As Bell falls onto his knees as he's sweating profusely and his nose is starting to bleed, as you see that Bell grabs his knife for the last minute stitch to save his life, as he starts to swing around left and right, left and right, left and right towards these monster-like beings. As he cuts and stabs and pretty much wields his blade left and right, willy-nilly, as eventually out of nowhere, a huge boost of strength comes out of Bell's leg, as he kicks one of the wolf creatures through a freaking wall, like a huge crater comes out of Bell's leg, comes out of him kicking that wolf down to the ground. As Bell eventually figures out what's going on, not figures out what's going on, but he feels very sick and he knows he probably won't be able to pretty much do hand-to-hand, combat, or not hand-to-hand combat, but his eye and hand coordination is trash right now. He's seeing double, so Bell tries to run away as fast as possible. As he runs and runs and eventually finds himself into a good or safe place as he passes out on the bottom of the floor. As he passes out, as Bell wakes up out of nowhere, as Bell gets up being very flustered, and not flustered, but more or less very feeling better than he's ever felt in his life. As Bell gets up and realizes that he has a freaking six-pack now, and he's a little bit more muscular and athletic looking, as Bell feels even more athletic and better, as he feels like his whole blood cycle, his whole strength, his whole body has become pure or something. As Bell walks off, as he bumps into a nearby room, or not room, but bumps into a wall, as his hand sticks to the wall. As he rips his hand away from the wall, he's confused, as he goes on to walk out of the dungeon. As he's walking down the street, eventually coming to Lady Estia, as he bumps into a couple thugs trying to rob a little girl, or rob a little demi-human. Not the same demi-human we are shown later on in the show, but a different demi-human. As Bell tries to step in saying to leave her alone, as Bell in this universe is actually, his childhood is different. As we get a flashback when Bell got up on these guys, we get a flashback between that scene as we get shown his grandfather. As his grandfather is telling Bell this, as he tells Bell that with great power comes great responsibility. And in this world, he's raised by his grandfather, but his uncle takes him in the last couple years of his life, as he teaches him ways and teaches him how to be a man, and overall teaches him how to be a good man. Basically raises him the same way Peter Parker was raised. As he's eventually told that with great power comes great responsibility when his uncle died at a young age. But over these years, Bell has blocked it out, and eventually at this point, when he got in this, heated argument with this dude, as the dude went for a slash towards him, he grabbed the knife, and all those memories flew back into his head, because he witnessed his uncle get stabbed, shanked on the side of the street in front of him. As Bell basically internally has a type of guilt that he wasn't strong enough at the time. He wasn't big enough at the time. He wasn't man enough at the time to save his uncle's life. He could have done something, but he was only a child. But he hasn't let that down on him. He still has that burden on his life, on his soul, weighing him down. But he's blocked that out so far, but now it's out. As Bell grabs the knife out of the dog's hand and breaks it in his hand, as he starts to bleed a little bit, because he's not invulnerable. I ain't finna make him superhumanly, like Superman strong, but he starts to dodge the other mugger's fist or punches, as there's about 4 of them. As he starts to try to gang up on him, as he starts to, develop his powers. As one of them try to sneak up behind him, as he gets a ringing on the back of his head, as he has like a echolocation sensory every time he has a spider sense that gives off which direction the danger is coming from. As he jumps up in the air, like 20 feet up into the air, does a somersault backflip on one of the thugs, breaking their ribs. As he punches one of them through a wall, and he dodges another one, and uppercuts him dead in his face. As Bell dodges another punch, as he opens out his hand, but out of nowhere, he feels a sharp, not pain, but like, you know how you touch your muscle and it's bruised, or you flex your muscle and it's bruised, or sore when you've worked out? It's kind of like that, but lower down, like a like a good pain, I guess. Like if you push down on a scab or something, like a little weird pain, as it comes out of his wrist, as it's some sort of web, as it soaks the dude or sticks the dude to a nearby wall, as he's freaked out and grossed out that this gooey white substance came out of another dude's hand or body. I've never gotten this sick, but when you really think about it, was it Peter Parker, Tobey Maguire Peter Parker technically just defecating around the city? Because ain't technically his web fluid his body fluids? And like, also, I did like that little scene Peter Parker 1, or Tom Holland's Peter Parker asked in No Way Home, that does it come from other places, since it is a bodily fluid that comes out of you? But yeah, but honestly, Bell continues, and he basically is shocked at what he's discovered and what his powers are. As he goes back to Lady Hestia, as she checks his stats, as he's boosted up dramatically, a little bit more than his original boost or stats before. As she's kind of sad, but also kind of impressed, and she's confused on what happened. As Bell does tell her what happened and what he's experienced, and his newfound abilities and powers. As he shows her, or tries to show her, as in that very moment, it doesn't work. As he tries to crawl on the wall, he hasn't figured out power out yet, but he tries to shoot out the web out of his hand, but nothing comes out. And she's kind of sad to relate him, because he did bring up, I guess, the princess in this world, or in this alternate universe, and she walks off, kind of being, angry at Bell, but she's kind of confused on what happened to Bell. As Bell walks off in the middle of the night looking for Lady Hestia, as he's trying to find her. As he's walking, eventually coming to a nearby bar. As he comes to the bar, basically looking for a drink, as Bell is in a normal shirt. He's not in his normal jacket, his brown and black jacket. See, he's just in like a tank top type black shirt, since he's trying to show off his muscles, or more or less his jacket became a little bit tight for him. So it's a little bit, he's not bigger, but more or less he has more muscle definition. As Bell is talking and everything, and saying everything to the, pretty much diner that gave him the food at the hub or bar, don't really know which one to call it. As he's given even more fish, catfish to eat. As she basically tells him, eat up, as he's scrumptiously down this stuff. As the silver-haired maid, I also did ship him with the silver-haired maid. I feel like they should have been in-game, but Lady Hestia was more of a better choice for him, in my opinion. But she was also a pretty good love interest. I feel like they should have gotten together at some point throughout the show. But Bell's chomping down his pasta, and out of nowhere, the Loki Guild come out. As Loki and the rest of her guild shows up, with them all looking kind of bad, kind of fine baddies, and one wolf dude. I freaking hate this dude out of the show. He was cool and all, but no, not really. As we're showing off the rest of the guild, as the main guild is the princess, basically the sword princess, as Bell recognizes her right away. As I don't understand, because honestly, blondes aren't really my type. I don't really think, Bell has good type or good taste in women, because I don't really know. But yes, Bell is kind of shell-shocked that he's seen her again, as the Loki Familia or Loki Guild basically are just eating, having a good time, celebrating their victory today. As they all eat and drink, as Bell is eating, as eventually they start talking about Bell. And the wolf dude starts talking shit about Bell, start talking crap, and Bell gets pissed off. And actually, in this turn of events, she doesn't run away. She doesn't walk off. He gets up from his seat and tells him, "You want to say to my face?" As he throws a beer towards the guy's face. As this room goes completely silent. As Bell has started a fight with this dude. As the dude gets up and saying, "Try that again." As Bell gets to a fighting position and curls up his fist, as his body starts to go into overdrive, his blood starting to pump, his heart is going faster and faster and faster. As Bell's muscles start to peak out more, as his fire starts to go off. Out of nowhere, somebody tries to hit him with the back of the head. As Bell ducks it and throws a crazy, straight up, I don't remember his name. I think Johnny from Mortal Kombat. There's the whole split nut punch and gets up from the ground in 2.3 seconds, and it turns out it's Loki. that tapped him in the back of the head, or tried to. As she's on the ground, throbbing, because, well, he has super strength. So he straight up punched her dead in her coochie. Dead ass, knuckles and everything. Her coochie was gone, obliterated, destroyed, finito. Like, for real, she was done. It was like being punched in the balls. He literally punched her so hard, it hurt her internally. Like, bro. Bell got up and started to apologize, but out of nowhere, this wolf dude tries to throw a fist at him. As Bell dodges it yet again, as Bell gets into a fighting stance, as the bar lady says, "Break it up! I don't want no fights in my place. You can do it outside." As Bell walks off, as he runs off, being very much confused on, why he didn't just punch him then and there. But yet again, Bell is still trying to get used to his powers, and he's only had them for a couple hours. So Bell walks off. As Bell walks off later in the distance, as he goes to the dungeon to get his mind off of things. As Bell does all of this, as the princess is kind of confused and interested in Bell. Not interested, but, interested on his powers, how he's doing. As some monsters corner up Bell, as Bell gets into a fighting stance with his knife and his powers, and Bell pretty much discovers his powers halfway through this whole completely crazy fight, as Bell goes crazy. As we see a montage of him using his spider abilities and his web fluid, plus his knife, using his knife as kind of a, weight to his web fluid to basically attach his webs to his knife and swing it around, kind of like a chain with a knife on the tip of it. And he starts to fight all night long. And over the hours and days, and not days, but hours, he comes back a bloody mess, even worse than he did before. But he's basically completely shirtless, like his whole shirt is like blown and like burnt off for some reason. He has web fluid around his fist to keep his fist from bleeding when he was punching demons or punching monsters dead in their face with his superhuman strength and agility. As Bell also has web fluid around his knees and his elbows to keep him from scraping. Basically, him being covered in webs that he's made himself that look kind of like bandages. As basically he walks up to Lady Essie, as Lady Essie is very shocked at Bell. As we get a little montage of Bell before he, got injured, that he was exploring his powers. As Bell doesn't know all of his powers just yet, or doesn't know the full extent of them just yet. As Bell falls into the ground and collapses, as we see that Bell that day, well, he's done for. As we see that Lady Essie attends to his wounds, and I'm gonna leave it off here, guys. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. And next part 2 will be like, I thought this is my favorite what if I've done with Bell so far. Later on, I might do what if Bell had Shazam's powers, because that's a little bit more fitting for the type of storyline and how this anime takes it, with like them worshiping Greek gods and also some other gods from Greek from the Norse mythology, like Loki and stuff, and also having Zeus and everything like that, stuff like that. I feel like those are pretty good mythologies, and I feel like we should have maybe like what if Bell had Shazam's powers, and I feel like that would be pretty cool. What if? I might do that if you guys want me to do that. But for now, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe, and as always, guys, have a blessed day. Deuces.